If you've ever felt like dating apps leave you feeling hollow, or social media is the same curated surface level content repeated over and over again, you're not alone. There's a reason why people are searching for something deeper, something darker, and something more authentic. We are living in the new Gothic age, whether we realize it or not. The last time this happened, it was the 18th century, an age of rapid industrialization, of people losing touch with nature, and of systems growing faster than the human spirit could process. The result? A wave of art and literature inspired by obsession, tragic love, and by the fear that human connection is slipping away. Does that sound familiar? But this time, it's not factories or steam engines, it's AI, it's VR worlds, it's an economy that thrives on detachment. We're lonelier than ever, drowning in online curated personas and surface level relationships, while deep down, we're starving for something real. I've spent the last year tracing back these Gothic ideals and how they're creeping up into our world today. Racking up 100 million likes based on my dark academia posts, it's clear that people are hungry for something more. So I put together this detailed iceberg chart, mapping out the patterns that are impossible to ignore. The ghosts of our past are walking among us again, but this time not in cathedrals or castles, but in the way we love and the way that we convince ourselves that a like is the same thing as being truly seen. Number 1. Pastoral poetry versus cottagecore aesthetics. Think Wordsworth and Keats. These romantic poets admired the romantic countryside, as if escaping to a lush meadow would cleanse them of the industrial grime and smoke of the era. They believed that love was most pure in these natural settings, untainted by society's corruption. It's all rooted in Jean-Jacques Rousseau's idea that human beings are naturally good, but society taints us. The modern New Gothic counterpart to this idea is the whole cottagecore or forestcore aesthetics you see on Pinterest or TikTok. Pictures of rustic gardens, homemade bread, forest cabins. On social media, people idealize the quiet, rural life as an antidote to the onslaught of likes and notifications we receive every day. For love, that means daydreaming about a slow, peaceful romance without the constant pressure of dating apps. Philosophers like Morozov would say that this is a rejection of solutionism, the belief that every problem, including love, can be solved by technology. Cottagecore romance says no. Sometimes we just need to unplug and be a human together. Next, let's talk about the visual side of the old Gothic. Those iconic images of people in flowing gowns staring out across vast landscapes. It was about emotional freedom. Love as something bold, impulsive, and intertwined with nature. Edmund Burke, a philosopher from that era, talked about how the beautiful is something that gently inspires affection. Today's version, soft linen outfits, vintage photo filters, pastel hues all over social media. We swipe through reels that looks like people are living in a timeless dream, an old farmhouse or a sun-drenched field. It's basically the same longing for an unhurried, picturesque life, only updated for an Instagram feed. Walter Benjamin talks about how reproduction strips art of its aura, its unique presence. Well, I think that these vintage-inspired aesthetics try to bring this aura back, hinting that love, too, should feel more handcrafted. Next, nature as sublime and pure versus detoxing from screen burnout. In the 18th and 19th centuries, romantics looked at towering mountains and raging seas as sublime, a kind of awesome power that dwarfs human concerns and cleanses the spirit. If you've ever stood before a massive waterfall or sweeping canyon, you know the feeling of both being terrified and exhilarated. For romantics, that same kind of overwhelming wonder was really similar to great all-consuming love, a force that makes everyday worries seem trivial. Immanuel Kant, a philosopher back then, describes the sublime as confronting us with our own limitations, yet leaves us in awe. Flash forward to now. Instead of steam engines, we've got social media feeds, 24/7 notifications, and the pressure to always be on. Our modern sublime is equal to the digital detox retreat. Hiking through forests or going a week without your phone, deleting social media, deleting Hinge. The idea is to reclaim that sense of clarity we lose when we're buried in screens. In love, stepping away from constant notifications can reignite deeper connections. Byung-Chul Han calls this the burnout society, arguing that when we're perpetually busy and overstimulated, we can't truly be intimate. Going into nature becomes the antidote. like hitting the reset button on our emotional lives. Finally, old Gothic / romantic works paint love as this innocent pastoral ideal. Two souls reuniting in rolling hills, free from the innocent corruption of society. William Wordsworth literally believed that nature brings out the best in us. So it makes sense that love too would flourish in this wholesome setting. Now, in the new Gothic age, in today's world, it's less about wide open meadows and more about finding peace in a cozy, domestic world. It's love as a warm, soft retreat from the modern chaos, like a safe haven. The philosopher Martin Heidegger talked about dwelling as being truly at home in the world. And these new trends like candlelit cottagecore or minimalist cabin life echo that sense of security and depth. When you feel at home, love has room to grow. So that's tier 1. Tier 2, Gothic novels versus Saltburn, A24, and Euphoria. First up, Gothic novels were the original page-turners in the 18th and 19th centuries. Authors like Anne Radcliffe and the Bronte sisters gave us eerie mansions and haunted secrets, and romances that were tested by darkness. Love isn't just gentle or polite, it's electrified by danger and social taboo, and the looming threat that it could all end in tragedy. Philosophically, this ties into Hegel's idea that conflict fuels growth. In Gothic romances, moral or social conflicts push lovers to transcend past their limits, which ultimately intensifies their connection. Cut to now, we have movies and shows like Saltburn, stories that are drenched in raw emotion, moral ambiguity, and stylized visuals. We can't look away because they're basically new age Gothic tales. Instead of haunted mansions, we get glitter-soaked parties or surreal cinematography, but the core is still the same. Love against a backdrop of chaos, secrets, and potential ruin. Zizek would say we crave these borderline destructive relationships because they reveal the messy realness beneath our polished social facades. When things get dark, we believe that we're seeing what love is really made of. Next, Byron's celebrity mystique versus TikTok Delulu culture and Lana Del Rey. Lord Byron was a 19th century scandalous superstar. Everyone was obsessed with his dangerously charming persona and his latest affair. He was the blueprint for the Byronic hero, a tormented, rebellious figure who made suffering look glamorous. Philosophically, Schopenhauer argued that unfulfilled desire can fuel both creativity and misery, and Byron embodied that tension on the very public stage. Today we see echoes of this in the so-called Delulu phenomenon on TikTok, and in artists like Lana Del Rey. They flaunt heartbreak, longing, and melancholic fantasies as if it were performance art. Whether it's creating entire fantasy relationships online or leaning into the sad girl aesthetic, it's basically Byron's public heartbreak 2.0. Private emotions become public theater, shaping our identities around heartbreak. We watch it, we share it, sometimes we live it, turning our romantic misery into sort of a brand. Pagan revivalism versus witch talk, astrology, and manifestation. This next one might surprise you. Pagan and occult revivalism. Back in the Gothic era, folk magic and pagan rituals, often spirited outlets, outside of mainstream religion, fueling stories about fate, prophecy. Flash forward to now, we have witch talk.
You will marry this man in the year 2024.
Astrology.
Of course I was manipulating you.
And manifestation.
Try this manifestation technique if you want instant results.
Honestly, it's the same idea. A yearning for something mystical to guide our relationships. Mircea Eliade? Bro, what? How do you pronounce it?
Mircea Eliade.
Mircea Eliade. Mircea Eliade. Mircea Eliade. Please! Mircea Eliade. I'm rolling with it, that's what I'm going with. Talked about the sacred and profane, where humans crave moments of transcendence in everyday life. When people on TikTok are charging crystals under the full moon, or reading like tarot relationship advice, it's that same old age hope that love is woven into fate, not just left to random chance or a dating app algorithm. Finally, dangerous forbidden love versus all-consuming aestheticized obsession. Classic Gothic romances thrived on taboo. Think of the tension between lovers that are fleeing disapproving families. The danger made every moment feel more potent and more addictive. Denis Diderot argued that powerful emotions can can free us from stiff social norms. And Gothic authors ran with that. Danger created an emotional truth. In the modern New Gothic, love can become all-consuming, aestheticized obsession. Social media really encourages extremes, whether it's that Delulu-style heartbreak or star-crossed fantasy. We see entire feeds dedicated to tragic love quotes, curated to look heartbreaking and beautiful. Jean Baudrillard might say that this is the hyper-real, that the performance of love or obsession can feel more real than love itself. In chasing the darkest corners of love, they hope to find something real, even if it's staged for an audience. Tier 3. Burke and the Sublime versus Heidegger and the Depth of Love. First, let's talk about Edmund Burke. Back in the 18th century, Burke defined the sublime as something so vast and overwhelming, it fills us with awe and even a bit of terror. He suggests that people actually crave these experiences, things like towering mountains and raging storms, because they shatter our normal sense of control. Think of it like all-consuming love. It scares you, but you can't turn away because it's so deeply impactful. Cut to the present, we have Martin Heidegger, who argued that technology treats everything as a resource, or what he calls a standing reserve. And in doing so, it flattens our experience of the world. Where does love fit in? Love is one of the last strongholds of depth and human connection that we have. It's a place where we meet each other as full beings, not just data points. Heidegger's concept of Dasein suggests that real authenticity comes from meaningful encounters, like falling in love, which can rehumanize our world in an age of growing mechanization. Continuing forward, next up, we have Soren Kierkegaard and the leap of faith versus Simone Weil's deep attention. Soren Kierkegaard saw love as a spiritual risk, a leap of faith that demands total vulnerability. In his book Fear and Trembling, he compares deep commitment to a personal relationship with the infinite, like trusting in something that logic can't fully justify. It's a kind of love that's terrifying because it can't be reduced to a formula. In our modern landscape, we have Simone Weil, who defined love as not just a risk, but as deep attention, really seeing another person for who they are. In Gravity and Grace, she talks about the sacredness in giving someone your undivided attention, especially in a world full of pings and dings and notification. In a sense, love becomes an act of almost spiritual devotion, where you say, I'm here for you. I'm not looking anywhere else. Blake's divine imagination versus manifestation. Next, we have William Blake, a romantic poet who believed that imagination connects us directly to the divine. For Blake, he didn't see a strict line between art, spirituality, or passion. They all sprang together from the same cosmic truth. Today, that appears in manifestation culture, or the belief that through intensely visualizing your desires, you can actually shape reality. People talk about manifesting their perfect partner or writing down their intentions. Essentially, it's the modern take on how our inner vision can influence the outer world, especially when it comes to love. Love as the sublime versus love as the last magic in a rational world. In the Gothic or Romantic world, love was so immense that it was almost unreachable. A fleeting taste of heaven or the sublime. Friedrich Schleiermacher, something like that, I don't know if I got that right, famously wrote about absolute dependence on something greater than oneself. Today, we often hear that the world is disenchanted, a concept traced to Max Weber, meaning that science and rationality have stripped life of its magic. But ironically, love might be the last thing left that still makes the world feel magical and irrational. In a society that tries to measure or optimize everything, love remains defiant and transcendent, something that data can't quite pin down. It re-enchants us. Tier 4, Luddites and machine labor versus creatives and AI. Let's start on a throwback to the 1800s and the Luddites, the folks who famously smashed the machines that were stealing their jobs. As industrialization ramped up, skilled workers felt threatened and devalued by the automation process. In that environment, genuine human relationships became essential for preserving dignity and self-worth. Karl Marx highlighted how alienation from one's labor causes alienation from another. In this view, love was a counterforce, an affirmation of our shared humanity beyond economic utility. Jump to the present. We're facing a similar threat, this time from AI. Writers, artists, even online content creators worry about the threats of being replaced by AI algorithms. This anxiety is that we as humans might become obsolete, but love stands out as something that no algorithm can replicate. Its empathy, its spontaneity, that intangible spark, call it soul if you like. So when two people connect in a genuine way, it defies a system that wants everything to be quantifiable and for sale. Next, we have folk nationalism and nostalgia versus digital tribalism. Historically, as individualism spread, people clung to folk traditions and local cultures to resist the homogenization of big factories and impersonal city life. Marrying within your community was about more than just romance, it was about preserving a shared identity. Think of Jonathan Feitch, who championed cultural unity, seeing romantic love as a microcosm of communal bonding. Now we've got something similar online. Digital tribalism and niche aesthetics. Everything from dark academia to cottagecore. These digital micro-communities feel like home to people scattered across the globe, creating what Benedict Anderson called imagined communities. In the digital era, we might fall in love with someone who shares our aesthetic or worldview, even if they're halfway around the planet, because it reinforces that sense of emotional belonging in a chaotic web of endless possibilities. Revolution and broken systems versus disillusionment with big tech and capitalism. In the 19th century, you had revolutions and uprisings, people pushing back against unfair labor practices. During these upheavals, romantic love became a personal rebellion. The idea that an individual's feelings could matter more than the demands of a cold economic system. Pierre-Joseph Proudhon argued for personal liberty and saw interpersonal bonds as a way to resist oppressive structures. Flash forward to today. Many people still feel disillusionment with democracy and digital capitalism. We see love as a refuge from clickbait, targeted ads, and the relentless push to profit from every interaction. Jürgen Habermas warned that the public sphere is being colonized by money and power, but love at its best remains a kind of sanctuary, what he'd call a life world, outside of the reach of manipulative algorithms and corporate agendas. Herbert Marcuse talked about how true eros, or real love, can break the chains of consumerism by centering human well-being over perpetual consumption. As long as love isn't fully harnessed by the market, it's an act of quiet rebellion. Finally, at the almost deepest level, we have the abyss. Frankenstein. Grief makes monsters versus love is a glitch. Another cornerstone of Gothic fiction is Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Victor's obsession with creating life ends in tragedy because his creature can't experience or reciprocate love. The monster's despair shows us that existence without real connection is monstrous. It's a life condemned to isolation. Shirley was also critiquing the Enlightenment's blind faith in progress. She argues that love, not progress, is what truly humanizes us. In our modern era, many couples see love as a glitch in the digital matrix, a tiny pocket of authenticity in a world of staged photos and manicured online personas. If everything can be faked or filtered, a raw emotion stands out like a rogue code, like a bug. That's essentially Baudrillard's hyperreality, a realm where simulations outnumber the real thing. When two people find an unfiltered connection, it's almost subversive. It's a break from the scripted show around us. Next, artist as a martyr versus creator as content. In the Romantic era, these poets became legends partially because they died young. Their anguish made people see their work as more authentic. Love entangled with that suffering added a tragic hero status. Now, heartbreak itself becomes content. Influencers monetize every emotion, turning a breakup into a brand, an EP, racking up thousands of likes and engagement. But the danger is we never fully heal if our heartbreak is used to generate clicks. Michel Foucault wrote about how modern power operates through confession and self-exposure. If heartbreak is our new confessional, are we bearing our souls or are we feeding the algorithm? And at what cost to our emotional well-being? Love as madness, obsession, transcendence versus love as the last irrational act in a hyper-rational world. Throughout these Gothic tales, passion frequently overwhelms reason. From Plato's Phaedrus, we get the idea of Eros as a divine madness that can either uplift or destroy us. Obsessive love in Gothic literature is terrifying precisely because it veers so far from self-preservation. In our hyper-rationalized and data-obsessed world, falling madly in love might seem like truly the last irrational act. Finally, for Henry's theory, the one that I came up with, mad creative over here, think about this, the deepest of the iceberg. Okay, I gotta calm down. There's a reason why Gothic horror keeps echoing across centuries. Deep down, we feared turning into vampires, forever scrolling, forever empty, craving attention but never satisfied. The new Gothic reminds us to be truly alive and truly in love. We have to be vulnerable and even mortal. If we let ourselves be consumed by endless feeds, we become monsters of the dead, haunting digital halls without a real pulse. There's a reason okay, that's it. Fuck it. I'm out. Peace out. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. I put a lot of time into these videos. I'm really enjoying what I'm doing. Peace out.